Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And so we're going to start our session very soon. Tonight we'll be joining a very special guest all the way from Dubai, from the School of Humanity. I'll be introducing her in a while. Meanwhile, get on the stream and get ready to discover a whole new world of education for our country. We will start in a short while. We are sharing the links out to our parents and also our students in a little bit. So if you are hearing my voice here, I'm sure you are in the midst of preparing for the final 2 nights of the Chinese New Year. We wish you could join us physically, but if you can't, there's always this live stream to look back to, okay? All right. If you're driving home, make sure you're driving safe. If you're with your family, I think maybe you can turn this off and watch it later on. But if you like to go off somewhere and watch it, we would love it. So join us. I believe this would only take an hour or less than an hour, depending on how many questions we have. But if you have any questions and you're watching this later on after the live stream, pop it into the comments and we'll get back to you, okay? Right. Need more time to share? Raya, you are hanging on all right? Yes? Hello, good evening, friends. You are here and we are going to learn about a new alternative solution of high school for your children, okay? So we're going to start in a little bit. My team's sharing out the links. They just got the link. So wait a minute. Okay. All right, I think we should be fine to start. And as people trickle in later on, we will speak about it later on, okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to High School for the World. High School for the World, an open day discovery session with the CEO and also the founder of School of Humanity. School of Humanity. Raya is joining us here. I would like to bring her on the screen. Hi, Raya.
Hi, Sebastian. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, so Raya is an award-winning CEO here who has started many education initiatives. You can read about her on her website. And I'm so happy and so honored to have her online with us today. We are in some discussions about how potentially the School of Humanity could have a hub in Miri. That's why this session is important today, to look into whether it is relevant and needed by parents in this region, this international alternative progressive education structure. So today, Raya is going to share with us how the School of Humanity works And feel free to ask any questions, pop it into the comments, and we'll get back to you. Yeah? Raya, how are you feeling tonight?
I'm good, thank you. I'm excited to present our mission and our work to your community, and looking forward to some questions later as well.
And Raya, you are now 4 hours away from me, correct?
Yes, we're 4 hours behind. It's around 3 p.m.
Raya is in Dubai, ladies and gentlemen. And so we remember that she's at +4 GMT and I'm at +8. Yeah. So this is just the sweet time here that we have that's comfortable for each other. So without further ado, I'll pass the stage over to Raya. Raya, do you want your slides on?
Yes, please. Thank you, Sebastian. Amazing. Well, hello, everyone. It's a delight to be here with you all today. As mentioned earlier, my name is Raya. I'm the founder and chief executive officer of School of Humanity. We are an award-winning online high school where we learn by doing and having a positive impact on the world. And so over the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to share more about our innovative approach to schooling, our model, our curriculum. And I urge you to keep the chat active with any reflections, questions, or any thoughts that might come throughout this presentation. So School of Humanity is an award-winning online high school that serves learners from all around the world. We learn by tackling real-world projects and challenges. Our learners get mentorship and guidance from experts all around the world. And we also put a lot of emphasis on human flourishing and developing emotional and existential intelligence. And I'll be going deeper into each of these things over the next few minutes. But before we go into that, I wanted to start with a little bit about our why and why we do what we do, what our mission and vision is. Now, personally, as an individual, as a founder, a lot of our work comes from my pain points with the education system. I was someone that loved learning and really wasn't a huge fan of the formal side of schools. I loved my extracurriculars and learning by doing things, but sitting down and memorizing for an exam was just not my cup of tea. And I think this story resonates with a lot of people because a lot of our students in the education system feel this way. According to one report from Yale, 75% of students in the US hate going to school and share negative connotations and feelings when it comes to the schooling system. We also know that a big percentage of what we learn in high school is actually not that useful to us later in life in today's world. And I want to contrast this with the learning experience at our school, at School of Humanity, where over 90% of our learners love or like learning at School of Humanity. So this is a huge contrast to the vision that we have. So you might be wondering what makes us different, right? How are we reimagining education? The simplest way I can put it is a comparison with the traditional system. So instead of focusing on rote memorization and exams, we do project-based assessments. Instead of focusing really on exam scores that focus on knowledge retention, we focus on developing your skills, mindsets, and behavior. Another thing that makes us different is that we don't teach in isolated subjects. The curriculum is taught in an interdisciplinary way. Everything is connected to everything else. About half of the learning is synchronous, while the other half is flexible and asynchronous, so there are much more flexible schedules. And instead of having a standardized curriculum for everyone, learners have personalized curriculums and pathways towards the end goal. And last but not least, a lot of what happens in the traditional system doesn't have real-life applications. Whereas at School of Humanity, we really focus on having active mentorship from experts, doing internships every term, and a lot of real-world learning to be able to apply them to the real kind of connections to the world. We also pride in how personalized the journey is at our school. I mentioned earlier that every learner has a personalized curriculum. On top of that, learners get to choose the projects that they focus on in a personalized way. A lot of the mentorship sessions are open-ended so that we can really focus on the pain points of the learner. Learners can even evidence their learning in personalized ways. And as we'll talk about later, we recognize they might have a completely unique pathway after high school as well. We've been really proud of what our learners have accomplished over the last year. Just a few kind of highlights and stories. We have learners like Arthur, who's a youth member of the UNICEF Advisory Board, Emily, who just qualified to row for the Chilean national team. A number of our learners recently met ISS astronauts at the Dubai Future Forum. The list goes on and on. It's been wonderful to see the impact our learners have had with this kind of an educational approach. An organizational fact about us is that we are a strategic partner of EIM Global, a school group based out of Singapore, China, that is pioneering sustainable futures in education. And we're really excited to be strategic partners of EIM Global, who invested in us as a school about 2 years ago. A little bit more about our accreditation and licensing. So School of Humanity is licensed as a virtual high school out of the United States. We have our supplementary school accreditation and are on the path for full school accreditation with the Western Association of Schools and Colleges. And we are a member of the Mastery Transcript Consortium. For anyone that's not sure what the Mastery Transcript is, it's essentially an alternative to the report card. It's a portfolio-based alternative to the report card where you showcase all of the skills that a learner has mastered, tagged to a portfolio of projects. And this is just a glimpse of what this Mastery Transcript looks like. What's really cool is that over 300 universities recognize the Mastery Transcript. So it's a movement that's taking on the world. But we also do a GPA transcript, for learners that need a traditional kind of grade-based transcript to take to universities and other programs, employers. We also do benchmarking and issue a GPA-based transcript as well, recognizing that this is something that learners would need. We are also partnering with a network of universities around the world that have the same innovative approach that we have to learning. Because we know that if learners thrive at a project-based, challenge-based high school like School of Humanity, they'll thrive at a similar kind of university. So we've been partnering with innovative universities such as London Interdisciplinary School and Tomorrow University of Applied Sciences, who take this interdisciplinary or challenge-based approach to learning. So I want to now go a little bit deeper into our curriculum. One of the questions we often get asked from families is, do you teach IGCSEs, or do you teach IB or A levels, or the kind the traditional curricula out there? The short answer to that is no. We actually decided to create our own unique core curriculum called the Human Literacies Framework. The human literacies essentially are a collection of 8 different literacies that we believe are crucial for young minds to have for the world of today and tomorrow. The word literacy comes from the OECD definition of literacy, which stands for knowledge, skills, and mindset. So literacy includes these 3 things. And so our core curriculum is a collection of those 3 things. It's also informed by the latest research from entities like the World Economic Forum on the skills of the future and the emerging workforce to make sure that the curriculum of a high school is up to date with those standards. Just to give you a brief glimpse into kind of the credit areas under each of these. So in, let's say, human flourishing, we have things like emotional intelligence, healthy body and mind, philosophical inquiry. Under quantitative, we have things like financial literacy and data analysis. In action, we have leadership and collaboration, work experience. Discovery, we have scientific inquiry, biological, chemical, and physical models. And I could go on and on, right? So under each of these, we fleshed out a lot more detail into what the literacies include. Throughout their time at School of Humanity, learners basically work towards these literacies. We're actively tracking their progress, or they're building a portfolio of projects towards evidencing these literacies. So how do we learn? We know what we learn at our school. So how do we learn these things? How do we work towards the literacies that I mentioned earlier? So every term at our school, our learners don't do traditional courses, they do challenges. This is just an example of the interdisciplinary challenges learners do. They include things such as maintaining global peace, food, energy, water security, designing space habitats, activism through film, music, and art, and much more. What is exciting about these challenges is that they are all interdisciplinary by nature, in that we look at the different disciplines and different subjects through the lens of the challenge, which makes it far more exciting and real world for learners to learn about. So every term, learners choose one of these challenges that they embark on. First, they engage with the challenge. This part is educator-led. So we guide them through investigating and understanding the challenge in a lot more detail. Then they start to investigate problems that they want to solve underneath the challenge. Then they act on the challenge by designing an entrepreneurial, technological, artistic, scientific solution to the challenge. And last but not least, we end with a micro internship where we bring in a company that's in this domain of the challenge, and learners get to apply their skills to the skill context. And then we wrap up with a showcase where we share our journeys and reflect on what we've learned throughout the term. In addition to these challenges, we also do things called skill units every term. These are project-based learning journeys that allow for depth, while the challenges allow for breadth. They, again, have an interdisciplinary twist. They're always project-based. Examples include things like designing with nature, ethical philosophy, physical models, critical thinking, and much more. Furthermore, learners also embark on a personalized flourishing journey throughout the term, where they identify an area that they want to develop that will help them flourish in life. It could be a domain of emotional intelligence. It could be something around sports or something around their social life. And they do weekly workshops where they continue practices to work on this area of human flourishing. And as you can see, it includes things around mindfulness practices, exploring consciousness in the self, looking into our own sources of fulfillment, how to tap into meaning and purpose, or flow and concentration, and much, much more. For a lot of high schools do social emotional learning on the sidelines, or it's extracurricular. For us, it's in the very core. It's absolutely critical. Just to give you a few examples of some of the kinds of projects that our learners have done on different challenges, we've had learners like Eliana design a solution to support child safeguarding. Brielle designed an app which connects fertilizer companies to restaurants to promote circular economy principles. Hijab launched a podcast that raises awareness about collective illusions. So just examples of some of the projects that learners chose to pursue within the domains of the challenges that they embarked on. So one of the other questions we get from families is, okay, what happens every week? What happens every day? Like, how is the schedule structured? And, is it all completely online and so on? So every week we have a couple of kinds of experiences. We have workshops and boot camps. So we do live workshops even online with our learners. These are completely interactive. There's tons of games, discussions, debates, dialogues, and activities happening during these workshops. We also do a weekly pathway advisory. This is our career and university kind of counseling that I'll speak to later in the presentation. As I mentioned, we do weekly flourishing workshops. We do a weekly workshop called Skills Lab, where we focus on a specific skill and honing in that skill. Learners also do weekly mentorship with their industry experts. And these are live sessions where they get feedback on their projects and solutions. And we also do regular master classes and career stories, where we bring in inspiring humans to share their story and allow us all to learn from them, really. This is just an example of how a schedule might look like with the different sessions for a given learner. You'll see that we leave a lot of open time for learners to also do their online learning, because they do have assignments and readings and videos or activities they need to do in their own time as well. And what is amazing is that different learners can choose to schedule their time very differently. So this is a learner who likes to do all their work within the week. They might use their Fridays for self-paced learning and getting into flow and focus. But you might have another learner that decides to take Friday off and just socialize and extracurriculars and do their learning on Saturday. And so it really allows for flexibility because we assume a 4-day week, with the 5th day being for flow and focus. In terms of our educators at School of Humanity, we have a range of incredible humans who all have been teachers, who have been experienced teachers, who have experience with innovative pedagogies, but we also bring in people who come from the industry, who have been engineers or artists, to also play that role. In addition to traditional teachers, we have our pathway advisors who are university and career counselors. We have our mentors, as I mentioned earlier. We also have kind of our flourishing facilitators as well. This is just to show you a glimpse into some of the educators that we have at our school. They come from a range of different backgrounds, from sustainability to the IB curriculum, and they really share our vision and mission of reinventing education. We've also worked with a network of mentors who come from different backgrounds, ranging from aerospace engineering to medical technology to innovation and strategy to design and art and much more. And as you can see, they also come from a range of inspiring organizations, ranging from IBM to Harvard Innovation Labs and even consulting firms like PwC and startups like Shiny NFT. So I mentioned earlier that we put significant emphasis on real-world learning. One of the highlights of the curriculum and experience is this thing called a micro-internship. We do micro-internships at the end of every term. And this is an opportunity for learners to get real-world experience and to get exposure into what it means to be working in a specific industry. The way that these micro-internships work is that an organization that we partnered with will give learners a case study of a challenge they want learners to work on. Learners will collaborate in a team on this challenge and task for the company and present back to the organization. Again, it's something that we do every term. It's basically learners can earn credits for it, and it's a really exciting experience. We've worked with a range of organizations, some really large and established, some not-for-profit, some emerging startups over the last 2 years with regards to micro-internships. Just to give you an example of the value of these, in one of our programs, we had a few learners who worked on a micro-internship project, which actually then led into a longer-term internship that they had been doing with the company. So it just shows you the value of getting that exposure and getting the networking opportunity with these organizations. Now, as we come to the end of the presentation, one of the biggest questions we get asked as an online high school is around social life and community. Now, the learning experience at School of Humanity is designed to be very, very interactive and social, even if it's online. As I mentioned, all of the workshops are really social and interactive, even if they're online. We do the flourishing sessions, which allows us all to bond together, learners working teams from around the world. We even have game nights virtually, and learners can lead clubs and initiatives. That being said, we don't believe that online socialization should or could replace in-person socialization. So a lot of our learners are part of in-person communities. They're doing sports. They have a really active social life in some cases. Really, it works well when, as a family, a lot of planning is done to ensure that there is in-person activity socializations, whether it's on the weekend or after school hours, to ensure that learners have a chance to really, fulfill that. We also have a really active parent community. There's a parent committee that contributes to the future of the school. We do regular cohort community meets. There's a parent portal where parents can find all the information they need. And we also ask parents for a lot of feedback on a regular basis, on a termly basis. Learners can also contribute to the future of the school in a lot of ways. One of the ways they do that is in addition to the learner committee that we have, a lot of our learners will choose to start clubs. So we've had in the past debate clubs and film clubs and creativity clubs, but one of the most popular clubs this term is the crochet club that is very active at the moment. So they come and go and they change, and it's a really nice way for our learners to kind of socialize and bond with other learners centered around their interest. Now, I do have a video testimonial to share with you, but I don't think it's going to work on StreamYard just because I have always had issues playing sound. But I will share this with Sebastian, and I encourage you to watch it. It's just an overview of our videos, our learners sharing their experiences at School of Humanity and what that's been like for them. So I wanted to wrap up the presentation by talking about post-graduation pathways and life after School of Humanity and what all of this means from a university perspective. So we recognize, unlike most traditional schools, we recognize that it's not just about university. There's a lot of different pathways that exist in today's world after graduation. And we aim to prepare learners for all of these pathways. So one example is a lot of our learners I mentioned want to go to progressive universities that have a very similar innovative approach to learning like we do. That's where the mastery transcript, the portfolio of projects, university partnerships really come through. But we also have learners that are planning on going to more traditional universities, and that's where the GPA transcript comes in. But we also benchmark our advanced credits to the AP, which is like the American A levels. This means that our advanced kind of domains in years 11 and 12 will cover a lot of the same knowledge areas as the equivalent AP, so that learners can choose to take those exams if they wanted to or if they needed to from a regulatory perspective for their country. We also have some learners who don't want to go to university, and that is completely understandable. They want to either go straight to industry for some time before going to university or just pursue that path long term. That's where all of the micro internships we're doing, the mentorship exposure we're giving learners to, and the global network that they get access to really comes into play. Last but not least, we have a number of learners who are really passionate about entrepreneurship. They really want to continue to build different products and businesses. And really every challenge cycle that learners do, they have the opportunity to develop entrepreneurial skills. A lot of the mentorship they receive on that front really helps them as well. I should also mention that these pathways are not mutually exclusive. A lot of our learners might go to a progressive university and do entrepreneurship, and you can mix and match. You can take a gap here and then go to university. But our hope is to make sure we're preparing learners for all of these possibilities, not just traditional universities. So how do we do this? I mentioned earlier, we have a weekly workshop all the way from year 9 or the first year of joining us at our school called Pathway Advisory. During these workshops, we focus on things such as portfolio and resume building, personal branding, university admissions preparation, getting different industry experiences, interview skills, finding passion, and so forth. So it's our exciting and innovative approach to career and university counseling. On top of that, learners do 101s with their pathway advisors twice a term to get that personalized guidance as well. So really everything I've described so far shows you that School of Humanity isn't just about getting a university diploma and some extracurricular experiences or a transcript. We really focus on whole human development, on ensuring there's a portfolio of projects that you're graduating with internships and real life experiences, the personal brand and strong resume with the global network of industry leaders, tools for flourishing, and last but not least, a love of learning that stayed intact. Now, the reason that we're having this conversation now and discussing potential collaborations with Champs Education is we are launching or partnering with learning hubs and learning centers from around the world who would like to become, let's say, co-learning centers, where learners are enrolled in our online high school, but they can come together to co-learn, to access on-site educators, to do in-person excursions, and really get access to even in-person learning facilities that might supplement their learning. We have a hub in Dubai and in Bristol at the moment, and are in conversations with prospective hubs all around the world. Last but not least, a little bit about our application and next steps. The way that the application process works for our online high school is that you can first submit a written application via our website. Then there is a family interview, an interview with the learner and the guardian to get to know you better. This is also a chance for you to interview us to see if this is the right fit for you. And last but not least, if you're accepted, there's an onboarding and orientation process to get you comfortable with the program. Now, what kind of learners is this for? What do we look for in our applicants? Some of the mindsets that we're looking for in our learners is curiosity and love of learning. This is the most important one. It doesn't matter what your grades are. It doesn't matter, if you don't have a lot of knowledge in the areas that we teach about. If you have a positive enthusiasm for learning, a project-based model like ours is excellent for you. We also look for learners who have a desire to develop real-world capabilities, who are open to collaborating with learners from around the world, who want to better themselves and better our world, and are committed to all aspects of the learning journey, from flourishing to the challenges to the pathway advisory. A few of logical prerequisites that we also have is because our program starts from the equivalent of 9th grade in the American system, learners typically need to have a minimum of 8th grade equivalency in numeracy, science, and communication skills. Now, even for homeschoolers that don't come from the traditional system and don't have transcripts, we do have our internal assessments for these that we're always happy to do. The program is fully in English, and we don't expect everyone to be native speakers, but fluency in English is important. And of course, we want to be speaking to families who understand what they're signing up for and have done their research into the model and curriculum, and understand that this is a really unique model. Last but not least, it's a full-time program, so being able to commit the time is an important prerequisite into the program. Our high school tuition fee is about 7,000 USD a year. That's 2,600 USD per term. There are 3 terms a year. That being said, we offer almost half of the seats in every cohort are financial aid seats. So learners can apply for partial discounts, all the way up to full financial aid when submitting their application form. Accessibility is really important to us. That's why we always have a number of learners in every cohort that are on partial tuition or full tuition as we become the high school for the world. Last but not least, if this is something that piques your interest, but you're not sure yet, and you're hesitant about making the full long-term commitment, you should consider applying to our summer school. We have a 6-week online summer school that is a lighter version of the high school, but covers a lot of the similar pedagogical aspects and curriculum components, and will give you a chance to get a taster of what it's like to be at our school. And applications are open for the summer school as well. So really, this brings me to the end of our program, of the presentation, rather. The last thing I'll share, we also have our high school showcase where our learners will be presenting their projects and solutions. This is on 28th March. I'll share the link with Sebastian to share with everyone. If you're keen to come meet some of our learners and hear their presentations, this is really a great event for you to be participating in. That's all from me for now.
Thank you, Raya. Could we get back to the summer school, and could you tell us about the fees of the summer school?
Absolutely. So the fees for the online summer school, the baseline are USD 950 for the 6 weeks. But again, we have partial to full financial aid seats in every cohort. In fact, if people are interested in applying for aid in any shape or form, they should do so sooner rather than later, because we do give a kind of preference to earlier applicants.
And Raya, for the summer school, they would get the whole experience in 6 weeks?
Yes and no. So remember when I showed you all the schedule earlier, right? So the schedule for the summer school is almost exactly the same. We do weekly pathway advisory, we do weekly flourishing, you pick a challenge for the 6 weeks, you can start doing skill units. So all of that is exactly the same as the high school. The main difference is that it's 6 weeks, right? And every term in the high school is 13 weeks and you do 3 terms a year. So you don't accomplish the same level of mastery and depth that we do in the high school curriculum, but it will definitely give you a taste of what it's like to be in our school. A lot of our current high schoolers did the summer school first, it allowed them a chance to experience the model before enrolling.
So they can actually do the summer school.
Raya, we are joined with founder of Chance Education.
Hi, hello. So they can
nice to meet you.
Summer school, and then if they can actually do the summer school, and then right after that, feel more convinced, and then join your high school. Can they do that?
Yes.
Absolutely, exactly. That's exactly what a lot of families have done in the past, is because the summer school starts from June, July, and it's 6 weeks, so it'll be over in August. The high school term starts second week of September, second or third week of September. So there is time to then decide, okay, this is right for us or it's not right for us, and then do the application for the high school. So yeah.
Raya, we have an issue here. So in Malaysia, June to August would be a normal schooling month. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Could we then come to like a minimum cohort where we could start a summer school according to Malaysia's summer holidays?
Absolutely. Well, if we have enough learners interested, this is something we're always open to discussing. We have done this with other partners in the past.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
No worries.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Raya, for the beautiful presentation. I was telling my mother here as well how inspired I am because in Champs here, as we are running Champs Speak, I've been telling her all the while, I said, Mom, we need to start a school, but I don't know where to start from. Yeah. And this seems too good to be true, what we're doing. I can't see how this could be a school itself. And so someone's doing this in Dubai, and we were so happy to find you. Yeah. We've got some questions here. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've got any questions, just pop it into the comments. Yeah. Kat, we hear you. You said you have my attention. This was at the start of our stream. Yeah. Thank you. We were frantically sharing it out onto Facebook. I think it's getting out there, and we hope you'll be to many people. Raya, my first question.
And thank you for your support, Sebastian. We're really happy that the mission and vision resonates. I think this is a global movement, and we need a network of collaborators to make our vision a reality.
Yes, we are very, very happy. And so my first question, Raya, would be, you mentioned the mindset of curiosity. Yes. Is it a prerequisite? Or do you think this is something learnable or instillable through the School of Humanity?
So I believe in, having seen this from our experience, it's a bit of both, right? People come in with different, or learners come into our school with different levels of interest and curiosity and love of learning. Some are fully independent and autonomous learners. Some want to be, but are not there yet. And we fully recognize that's a range. One thing we have seen that doesn't work, one is if any shape or form your parents are forcing you to do this. So whether it's the summer school or the high school, it just does not work if the learners are just not interested. They don't want to do it. Whether, it could be because they're actually thriving in the traditional system, where this is just not the right model pedagogically for them. And so I really encourage parents to make sure it's really the learners that are in the driver's seat for decisions like this, which I know is sometimes controversial given the role parents play in the future of their children's education. So that's really the main thing we mean when we say you really have to be interested yourself as well as a learner. Because with project-based learning, I'm sure you've experienced this as well, you can't just cram it the night before the exam. It takes regular discipline of working on that project to develop your skills in that domain. And so it's actually in a different way more rigorous and more difficult to fake. So it really requires a level of participation and interest from the learner for it to work.
Thank you, Raya. And speaking about universities there, it was interesting how you charted out the path of all the students, yeah? They could go to progressive universities, traditional, direct to industry, or entrepreneurship. Out of your current student body, what's the percentage like? Do more students go to progressive universities or entrepreneurship, etc.?
Yeah, it's a bit early to tell because most of our learners are in years 1 and 2 of the 4-year program. But we do see all 4. Like we have a number of learners that want to go to traditional universities, including really elite universities like the Ivy Leagues, and that's what they're eyeing. We have a number of learners that are really excited about the progressive universities like Minerva, London Interdisciplinary School. I was just having a call with one of our learners this week who was saying he wants to just go straight into starting his own business. And, that's something we're supporting him with. And some learners that want to start working for a bit before they go to university, actually get industry experience. So it's such a mix. I would say compared to most traditional schools, we have a bigger percentage of non-traditional pathways in our student body.
Another question, Raya, about your student body. Where did they initially come from? Did they come from a national school system, or did they already come from international schools? Yeah,
it is a mix. So we serve learners right now from over 20 countries across 5 continents. About 60% of our cohort came from homeschooling. 40% were in traditional schools. So we do have learners that have come from traditional schools, and in that, a mix of private and public represented. I should also say 1/3 of our learners have some kind of a special learning difference. So we're very kind of accommodating to that. And last but not least, because we have lots of financial aid that we've committed to, we have learners from a range of socioeconomic backgrounds. So it's really such a diverse group of learners.
So from the data, from the data that you have just given us, it looked like this one is a niche market for the homeschoolers, huh?
Yes and no. We do believe there are early adopters to things like this. So you will have the first people that sign up, as the word you used, Sebastian, recently was courage, right? The courageous people that sign up first. And we fully recognize that we might be in that, let's say, early adopter or niche market for the first few years. But our belief is that over time, as models like schools like ours from around the world get proven, something like this actually becomes a mass market alternative, let's say, one day. And that's the ultimate hope.
And Raya, I'm holding on so strongly to Seth Godin's idea of how this whole change in the education system would work. Yeah? And truly, the early adopters with us, and hopefully one day the world would see this as something that actually should work for the masses, rather than just for the
absolutely
people.
Yeah. And it's not, what's interesting is it's not unproven. There are so many schools in the United States that do mastery-based learning, inquiry-based learning, project-based learning, that have a track record of sending kids to universities and succeeding. You know, it's just that a lot of times these things have happened in isolated examples. They haven't scaled globally, and that's hopefully what we change.
In fact, it already feels like an uphill climb in Miri, in Malaysia, even with my progressive parents. Even with my progressive
I can imagine.
Parents. Yeah, and as I speak to them about, hey, this opportunity that we have, if I was still in high school, would you consider sending me there? My father's first question was, would you come out with a national school certificate from Malaysia? And I'm like, Dad, that's the exact point why we're going to this school. But it got me thinking. And I think that's the concern for most parents listening to this live stream.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned to you earlier, Raya, a parent who spoke to me, they find it a really bright idea, a great opportunity for their children. But again, would they have an SPM cert or a Malaysian school leaving certificate? Again, Raya, we are coming out with an American high school diploma, right?
Yes, exactly. And first of all, this is such a valid question to ask, actually. There are implications in some places if you don't have this certificate, right? In some places, it doesn't matter. In some places, it does. So it's a very valid question. And part of the challenge that we have ahead of us is getting governments on board with this and changing the laws and regulations around this. But yes, at the moment, School of Humanity is designed as an American online high school. We are licensed in the US as an online high school. Our accreditation is from the US. So learners would graduate with an internationally accredited American high school diploma. Now, the recognition for this in Malaysia it depends, to be honest. And to be fully honest,
we do have American international schools in Malaysia, and students graduate with an American high school diploma. Yeah,
exactly. So that tells me if they might need to take the APs, which we benchmark against, but that there's some pathway out there for that. In some countries, the diploma by itself is not enough. You have to get it attested and show equivalency to the government and get an equivalency kind of report. And in some other countries, if you've done the SATs and APs, then you're fine. You don't need to worry about anything with American diplomas. So it really depends. The best way to really explore this is speak to a few universities. Talk to a university or two about what would their requirements be if you've studied in American high school, and see what they respond with, because that's really will give you the answer around recognition of something like this.
That's homework for me, Raya, to check out with the Malaysian university systems, and also the usual universities that Malaysian students would go to, and let you know how it is.
Yeah, sounds good. I think that I would love that feedback on what you find, because we're doing an online event soon on education regulation and policy. And this is an area that's really interesting for us because it obviously, as a global school, we constantly have to kind of do our research into these different cases. So I'd love to hear back from your research.
And Raya, I want to tell you again that I truly appreciate you sharing with us your innovation in education, even when you are not sure whether our policies allow for it in Malaysia or whether the society is even ready for it. Yeah. And so we're so thankful that you are in the mission, and we really want to join you in this mission. Yeah.
Thank you so much. No, we
So brave. That's the word.
Thank you. No, we appreciate it exploring this, and we hope we can collaborate together. We appreciate everything you're doing at Champs Education as well.
Raya, one last question. Flexibility of time. Yeah. These students studying at their own time, with my own experience of working from home, I think it takes a lot of discipline, it takes a lot of discipline, and it takes a lot of shutting out of distractions. How are students doing in School of Humanity with this?
Yeah, look, I mean, we still have accountability. There are still deadlines that need to be met. And if you don't meet the deadlines, you're going to get an email from your educator. And then, if that doesn't work, you get an email to your parents. So there is still a level of accountability and deadlines in staying accountable. And there's escalation policies if you disappear and not do any of your work. And I think one of the lessons I've learned as well is, as they're humans with different levels of self-discipline and motivation, and young people especially are still developing that. So just an anecdote I'll share here. In our first term at School of Humanity, when we first launched the school, we didn't have any deadlines. It was completely personalized. It was like, set your own deadlines, as long as you do the work, whatever works best for you, that's great. As you can imagine, that worked really well for some learners. It was horrendous for some others. And the following term, we were just doing regular focus groups with our learners, and they all unanimously voted for deadlines. Every single one said we would like a bit more deadlines to help us stay on track. And so that is something that helps them. And, that was a cognitive reframing that we had to do. And now, we have deadlines here and there, and there's some things that are a bit more flexible. And we found that it's really helping them. And it's a constant challenge, for us to kind of figure out how we support our learners on their self-paced learning.
And from how you've mentioned it has changed from the first intake to today, I think if we have another talk about School of Humanity in 2 years' time, I think a lot would have changed by then.
Absolutely. I think, as it should. I think schools should be this evolving thing
Correct.
that keeps up with the needs of our world, that keeps up with the changing nature of the the teenage minds and the world they're living in. So we hope we can constantly be updating and improving what we do and how we do it.
And from where we are from, Raya, this year is the 15th year of Champ Speak, where we teach students from national schools mostly to give them this experience of real world projects and meeting people on the streets and interviewing them and writing letters to local legislators. It's very hard to systemize something that could be repeated next year, because that's not what our system is. It has to be innovated to stay up to date with challenges of the future. And I've often felt very alone that there aren't any schools who would innovate that fast. And today I see a full-fledged school changing as it goes, and I'm very, very inspired. Ladies and gentlemen, I think, Raya, we'll end it here. We'll end our session here. Could we invite you to give us a last, some words for us to take home for tonight?
Yeah, I think my last message to everyone would be, really the learning opportunities that something like Champs Education gives you is probably significantly more important than your grades. And I know this is a provocative and probably controversial statement, especially, I'm from the Middle East, the Middle Eastern Asian families. There's quite a lot of traditional mindsets, but these critical 21st century skills are ultimately what future employers would look for, or ultimately what will make you successful as an entrepreneur, and even will allow you to succeed within a university environment. And I hope the families everywhere in the world don't see them as this extracurricular thing, but rather as an essential part of the learning journey for any young mind. So you guys keep up the good work as well.
Thank you, Raya. And our last message for our parents is these skills that we have in ChemSpeak that Raya has mentioned is essential, is now given to you as a full-time formal schooling structure where you can place your children through so they can thrive not just the 2 hours with us in ChemSpeak, but they could do that for high school and come out with a whole new different portfolio from any of their peers. So ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have just discovered this new opportunity of giving your children a chance to create the world they envision. I think that's the core of the School of Humanity, to give you the power to create the future that you want. Thank you so much for joining us. If you've got any questions, pop it into the chat and we will get back to you soon. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you, Raya.
Thank you, Sebastian. Thank you. Bye, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.